Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Thursday, October 2nd, 2025, and today I'm going to be joined by Chaz Nuttycombe from State Navigate to talk about the 2025 elections in New Jersey and Virginia. I hope you enjoy. We're going to get right into it, and we're going to talk about the 2025 cycle and everything pertaining to the House of Delegates races, to the General Assembly races, and of course the governor and lieutenant governor and attorney general races in Virginia, and the governor's race in New Jersey that is really piquing my interest as of late. So get ready. We're going to jump right into it, and I'll see you all in the next one. All right, Chaz, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, why don't you just take it away and talk to my viewers a bit about what State Navigate is and what they can learn from it?
Yeah, so my name is Chaz Nuttycombe. I'm the executive director of State Navigate. We're a nonpartisan 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization based here in Virginia, but we are opening up shop nationally over the next several months. And we do forecasting and collect a whole bunch of data on state legislatures. Currently we are up in Utah and South Carolina and Virginia. And we have our New Jersey forecast, which just came out this week. In Virginia, for example, since I think we're going to talk a little bit about Virginia, I'll show y'all some of the resources we have. So we have the district data to where you click on a district, you can see the incumbent, what the forecast shows, and what are the precinct results in each county for president, U.S. Senate, the primaries that went on earlier in the year, right? You can find out anything pretty much you want about the candidate by going to their website, looking at their detailed finances, right? Who is funding their campaigns, organize it however you want. Who are they donating to, right? I just saw like Open Chain for Delegate or something, right? And you can also look at previous cycles if they have a previous cycle. So that's 2023. And you can also find their social media. And then we also have like district demographics, right? And you can compare to every other single district in the chamber. So this is, for example, one of the most Republican districts. You can look at racial demographics, education demographics, including white college, no college, income, birthplace, age group. And then we also, this just came out in Virginia, we have the actual ideology of state legislators. And this uses all their roll call votes. It's not a scorecard. It's using W nominate. For the political science majors out there, you know what this is. It was made for Congress 35 years ago. And so you're able to look up where each legislator is ideologically in the chamber. And you're able to look up, all the roll calls that W nominate uses. This is out in South Carolina as well as Virginia. And you're able to see, did they vote yay or nay on the roll call? What was the likelihood that they were going to vote for it? And we, of course, also at State Navigate and our, let's say subsidiaries also aggregate news and create our own. Um, we want to make sure that it's only just news on state government. So these are our exclusives at the top, and then we have neutral leaning news, and then we have left leaning news and right leaning news from TV, blogs, Substack, whatever. And yeah. So we have a whole bunch of features outside of just the forecast. And I know that we're here to talk about the forecast, and I'm excited to go over it a little bit. But yeah, if you guys, your audience wants to learn about state legislatures, feel free to go to statenavigate.org. And if you want us to open up in your state, all you have to do is go to state selection, or there is a pop-up, I think, when you go on the actual page itself, the statenavigate.org, and you can take our survey and fill that out to vote for what state you want us to open up shop in. But yeah, thanks so much for having me on.
Yeah, of course. So this website, I'm sure you guys have seen on my channel, but we use it all the time talking about New Jersey, talking about Virginia. And so just recently released that New Jersey forecast, right, a few days ago, which was really exciting to see. Yeah. So we're a month out, 33 days, I think we said, from the election. A lot going on in Virginia and New Jersey. I'm really, really interested first about Virginia. I think this is the one. I said New Jersey has been the most exciting race, I think, of the cycle, but Virginia has definitely been one that I thought would be far more competitive than it actually was. So what are you seeing over in Virginia?
Yeah, so I live in Richmond. I've been forecasting Virginia elections for has it been 8 years? It has been 8 years. First time was August 2017. with the House of Delegates. Of course, in 2023, we got every single district right in the House of Delegates and the state Senate here in Virginia. Over New Jersey, I think we missed one or two in the state Senate. And then I think we missed three in the General Assembly. We just have better, honestly, connections here in Virginia. But yeah, so in House of Delegates, we can start off there. Democrats are overwhelming favorites to win the majority. And there's a few reasons why. The map is not really great for the Republicans. A lot of the seats that, either Republicans are defending or they need to flip, of course, voted for Kamala Harris. And with Trump in the White House and usually how things go in Virginia, that's definitely an uphill battle for them to climb. But there's also the fact that a lot of these districts move to the left, especially like this one. This one moved the most to the left. It's in Chesterfield, which is growing very quickly. I think it moved like maybe 8 points to the left on the presidential level compared to 2020, right? Something like that. If I were to try and recall off the top of my head. Yeah, but right now we have Democrats favored to pick up 7 seats. And there's a 94% chance they win either a majority or supermajority. There's a 15% chance they get to a supermajority, which would be 67 seats. Speaker Don Scott, Democrat, in the House of Delegates, sent out a fundraising email saying that they're playing for a supermajority. But when you look at the campaign finance reports, they really aren't, because the seats that are going to decide it are seats like 99 in Virginia Beach and 52 in Lynchburg, and they're not doing anything in there. They are trying for one of these, which is House District 34 in Harrisonburg. But they're really playing for 64 seats. But come 2027, if Democrats overperform our forecast as it currently stands this year, if they overperform it by election day, and they may be able to forge a path in 2027. But still, it's unlikely. But it's even more unlikely that the Republicans actually win a majority in the House of Delegates with a 6% chance. And you can see, what are the game-changing seats, for the majority or the supermajority, and how, just over time, the race or battle for control of the House has gone. It's pretty much been quite stable, right? Democrats have had in the high 70s, or, now they're at 80% chance of a majority, regular majority, and a 15% chance of a supermajority. And you're able to see, there are quite a few seats that are on the precipice. I mean, it just takes, very much within the margin of error in our forecast, a slightly better environment for the Democrats to get to, I believe that would be 63 seats if they flipped all of these and got there. But yeah, and then the race for governor, Abigail Spanberger's up by about 12 points. And, she's almost certainly going to be governor. 2% chance does happen sometimes, but it is very,
Quite rare,
very,
yeah.
very,
Yeah.
right? Just basic statistics. Um, we got, I think, 2 new polls that we're going to get into the forecast after this video comes out. Emerson, which, was, I think, last time there was an Emerson poll for the Virginia governor race. Spanberger's only leading by 1, and now she's up by 10. So that's pretty near what we have her. The Republican polls have much more favorable, oftentimes, especially like coefficient or signal, particularly coefficient, much more conservative electorates that they have in their modeling, and yet, and frankly, just very, very conservative to where it's pretty much almost certainly not going to be what the electorate looks like on
Right.
election day. Right. It's very unlikely that we're going to see an electorate that's more conservative than 2024. And yet Spanberger, in a very Republican leading sample from, folks like Coefficient, is leading in those by a healthy margin. And you're able to see all the county results. I do think, I will say, I think that she probably ends up flipping like York County. We use like previous results from like, a little bit of 2020, and then like 2024, and then like the governor race and everything. Spanberger's probably going to do well with particularly white college-educated voters. No surprise there.
Mhm.
With Just she's the kind of candidate that Democrats recruited in 2018 when they were trying to gain those voters. I think her potential weakness would be with black voters, particularly rural black voters, or just any black voter that is south of the Appomattox, not in Hampton Roads. So areas like Petersburg, where there's a very competitive House of Delegates district, or Hopewell, would be one of her liabilities as a candidate. Um, but yeah. And then in the race for lieutenant governor, we currently have Democrats also as pretty solid favorites in each of these races for LG and AG. And to address the elephant in the room, right? Um, we're recording on the 2nd of October, and both the Republicans and Democrats decided to do their opposition research dumps on the same day, just a couple hours apart.
Mhm.
Jay Jones was caught speeding at 116 miles an hour, I think, in January 2022. Had to do 1,000 hours community service, 500 of which was for his own PAC. So that could be something that helps the Republicans a little bit. And then in the race for lieutenant governor, uh, I don't think because you probably want YouTube advertising, I can't say the
It's all right.
opposition
I think they
opposition
can think
research.
they can find it online. Yeah.
Yeah, but John Reed had opposition research dumped on him by the Dems, it looks like, and it's related to the story of his Tumblr account that came out in the beginning of the year. This is why
Yeah.
Republicans wanted him to step down, and it's something that I had been hearing, not the exact details, but that there was another shoe to drop at some point before Election Day on John Reed, and the other shoe has dropped. Um, Personally, I think that the Reed scandal is probably going to be a bigger drag on Republicans than Jones's. But it will be interesting to see these negative ads that are going to come out over the next week or two, and see how that affects the races. Right, public opinion lags. It takes usually about like 2 weeks before people catch up to the news, and they form an opinion. So I think we could see the race for Attorney General tighten, and I could see the race for Lieutenant Governor get wider in margin for the Democrats. So that's something I'm definitely watching for over the next, or just through the remainder until Election Day.
So we know a bit about Virginia. Obviously, a lot's going to potentially change, maybe not so much, but the numbers here are quite strong for Democrats. You released your New Jersey model, and it had Democrats roughly at, I think today is 89% odds for Mikey Sherrill. But what are you seeing here in New Jersey? I think this is the state that I think has caught a lot of Democrats by surprise as being competitive. I think Democrats were expecting maybe a Phil Murphy style blowout of sorts, right? A 13, 14 point margin. But what are you seeing? Why is it so close? And, how are we still at 89% if she's only going to win by, six according to the model?
I think there's a couple things here. One, Jack Ciattarelli is a much stronger candidate than Winsome Sears. Sears's campaign is pretty weak. I would say it is the weakest campaign a Republican has run since 2013 with E.W. Jackson. Not saying that she is as controversial of a candidate or anything compared to E.W. Jackson when he ran for lieutenant governor in 2013 and got swamped by an 11-point margin, Ralph Northam. So I think that's one thing. And she's been heavily outspent and outraised by Spamberger. Um, and I think, Sears has also not gotten the Trump endorsement, which I think hurts her and her ability to get out the base. Um, Whereas Ciattarelli has a Trump endorsement. And, let's remember last year, Virginia, even though it swung to the left, right, just in terms of the, actual margin of victory, when you take into account the national swing, it still trended to the left by, what, a point or two, right? Something like that. Whereas New Jersey had a huge swing to the right unexpectedly in 2024 because of Republican gains with non-college educated voters, particularly non-white uh, uh, voters without a college education. Um, so I think that's a couple things there. And then, Phil Murphy is not a popular governor, as far as I recall. And, I think people will say, well, there hasn't been, Democrats haven't held the governorship in New Jersey for, I think, like 100 years now or something like that, right? So I think there's a couple things that's making New Jersey more competitive with all of those as just, let's say, fundamentals. But yeah, I mean, Mickey Sherrill is still a strong favorite in our forecast. We weigh polling at about 40% fundamentals. That's like the economy, presidential approval, the election results, right, at like 60%. And you can read more on our website about, everything that goes on into the model on that side. But it's still closer in margin. And look, I've seen plenty of, I mean, yesterday it was like 10%, now it's 11%. It's been a little bit, I think, better polling for Chitterelli recently. But I've seen those things happen, every year, I think every time we've put out, on the state legislative district level, where we give someone a 90% chance of winning, it usually kicks up to like 97% chance of the time they win. But this is a much more quantitative model than compared to that. So yeah, I mean, there's room for upset for Chitterelli. I would say it's a safe bet that it's going to be a closer race for governor than compared to Virginia. And
Does the
yeah,
recent scandal matter at all? The Naval Academy one?
I mean, that's kind of one of the things, just going back to, I think we have to wait
Okay,
and see, how people react to it. Let's give it another week or two, I think. And then we can see whether it matters, right? Um,
sure.
I think it's rare, especially kind of something like that. Now, I've seen scandals where it's like, okay, I know this is going to affect the race, whether it be Susanna Gibson in 2023, or and I'm just referencing House of Delegates races here, or AC Cordoza in House District 86 this year, right? That is going to affect the race. And it's just because of the level of scandal that it is. But just be on the safe side. I think waiting a little bit before we make any
Sure.
declarations.
And what about the General Assembly? These are going to be coinciding with the governor's race, just like in Virginia. They have their own set of elections.
Yep. And I'm really excited about this. So, here at State Navigate, starting as of last year, we forecast the outcome of every single seat for state legislatures nationwide. We're the only group in the country that does it, right? And before that, at C Analysis, which is our predecessor on that regard, for forecasting, which, its content has moved over. We before 2024 were only looking at pretty much single member districts and single member seats. So now, for the first time, you're actually able to see what is the probability of those splits, right? Splits, in the General Assembly, they elect two people in each seat. General Assembly is the lower chamber of the legislature. So this is a current split seat, but splits are so rare, where it's only a 5% chance of occurring again in the eighth. But you do have unique situations like in LD30, where the Orthodox Jewish bloc voters throw their support behind one of the Democrats, and it's a very Republican district, so the Republican wins the other seat. But yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that Republicans are slightly favored actually to claw back some ground in the legislature. And where that's coming from is that they're favored to flip both of these seats currently. But both of these were flipped to the Democratic column in 2023. The machine, this was the Sweeney machine. They lost this in an upset in 2021, LD3. And then in 2020, or 2021, I should say, is when they lost it, LD3. And then they flipped it back in 2023. And, there's probably going to be more turnout on the Republican side in the gubernatorial year than compared to those off years, we would call them. So Republicans are favored to flip both those seats. And then they're slightly favored to pick up a seat in the eighth. This is one of the two districts that has a split delegation. Um, But Democrats look like they are slightly favored to flip both of these seats in LD 21, which voted for Kamala Harris by a double-digit margin. And you can see, the forecast uses 20,000 simulations, so you can see the outcomes. These are just some of the possible ones. I've been working with Jack Kersing, our development director, since 2021, and I think, just every time, just visually, I think he puts something together even more cool every time. Um, so there's a 32% chance of a supermajority as well. So technically higher than in Virginia. Um, and then in the table down here, you can see like, pretty much
Hmm.
projected median outcome in the district. Um, so yeah, um, that's overall what we have in New Jersey. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But it's also a safe Democratic chamber, like
Yeah.
almost the Virginia House of Delegates.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I mean, I think both of these elections combined have started to become closer and closer to being ones that Democrats can rely on. The only one that really has piqued my interest the most is that governor's race here in Jersey. Um, you talked a bit about Chattarelli having maybe, 11% chance. It's still possibility for an upset, but I don't. I mean, we're reaching into this final stage of the campaign where the rebound we saw for Youngkin in 21 was quite apparent. But in
Yeah.
2021, you guys had you remember that 4 years ago. What did it
Yep.
look like for Chattarelli in that final stretch? Because he almost won, and I don't think we
I
were even
think
tracking that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So in Youngkin pulled ahead, but I think here in Virginia we saw him starting to really like he started to gain ground. I think after the debate, where McAuliffe said, I don't think parents should have a say in public schools or something along that line.
Yeah,
I think that was one of his biggest. I think that was his biggest screw up. There are a whole bunch of things that were working against the Democrats that year. Um, and I mean, Youngkin also spent a lot of his fortune on that race, which he's not really doing this time to save Winsome Sears. And you can just see that in the money, right? The campaign finance. And then in New Jersey last time, right? I mean, that was a big upset. Like everybody thought, and us included, that the governor's race was like, probably going to be a high single digit victory for for Governor Murphy. And then he only scraped by like what, 3 points,
3 points.
something like
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Um, and Chitterelli didn't really get much investment. So that this is the thing is like New Jersey is getting more of the Republican money compared to Virginia. Because Virginia was like everybody knew Virginia was competitive, but nobody thought New Jersey was competitive on either side. So there wasn't really as much money going there then. And money really does kind of, make the difference. Um, but yeah, so I think this is the first time since 2009 that the race for New Jersey governor has been more competitive than the race for Virginia governor. Obviously, it was inversed, right? Bob McDonnell eventually, was looking like he was going to win by double digits. He was a Republican, and then Chris Christie was in a pretty competitive race and won by a single-digit margin. So it was a Republican wave that year. Now I would say we're probably looking at a blue wave in Virginia,
okay,
probably. I am interested to see how the early vote shakes out. We're starting to count our mail here. So I'm interested to see how that shakes out over the next week or two before making, really definitive declarations. Um, and then, in New Jersey, it does look like it's going to be a little bit more competitive. I think it will be interesting to see, if Mickey Sherrill underperforms Kamala Harris's 2024
yeah,
margin.
yeah,
It will be interesting to see if New Jersey is a somewhat competitive state in 2028. And I think 2025 is going to inform that, just based on whatever the margin is going to be, for either Sherrill or Chitterelli if he pulls off an upset.
sure. Well, this is great. I'm really excited for these elections. It's the few times of the year that you get really excited towards an election season, and It'll be cool to see if New Jersey ends up being the shocker that everyone thinks it might be. But I honestly have been betting on the side of thinking that it's probably going to be a little bit more easier to predict than we think. But obviously, a lot of room there. So yeah, we're a month out. I think I'll wrap up with this. How much do you think is going to change? Are you pretty locked in, confident that, this model flash forward in a month from now will probably be right, or do you think that a lot can change? Because these October surprises as they've just popped up might change some of the dynamics of the race, but I'm pretty, at least on my end, confident that the Democrats are probably pulling through in Virginia and New Jersey.
Yeah, I mean, I'm less confident in New Jersey
Sure.
on that, and it's just part of that as a model, but also just kind of my insider ball, let's say, on New
Sure.
Jersey politics and everything, right? Um, so I think that, I mean, I'm just wary, I would say, before making a declaration
Yeah.
this far out on that race, because I just remember it was around this time when I think Youngkin was really picking up steam here in Virginia in 2021. I think it's a pretty safe bet to say that Abigail Spanberger is going to be the next governor of Virginia, unless there is some sort of October surprise that comes out. But I think, it seems like yesterday was the day that, the statewide campaigns were waiting to do their Oppo dump,
Sure.
but we'll see. Um, and I am really interested in, that, those Oppo dumps and how voters react to it and how it's going to be messaged in those attack ads and in those attack mailers against Jones and against Reed, and also like whether each side in the House and delegate races are going to be campaigning with him, right? Are they going to ostracize Jones on the Democratic side in these competitive House of Delegates races if polling, whether it be public or internal, whatever, shows that Jones is being a drag on them, or just simultaneously, um, on the Republican side, is I do think they're probably going to stop campaigning with Reed, because
Sure.
I think Reed's
Yeah.
scandal is more
Yeah, no, no,
salacious,
totally.
let's say, right? And that
Reminds me of
is
Mark Robinson a little bit.
sure. And let's keep in mind he's denied that it is his Tumblr account, that it is his blog. So, whether voters believe him on that front will be interesting. Democrats, their job is to convince voters that that was his blog, right? And I think
hmm
that the news from early in the year makes that an easy persuasion for them to make, right? Why else would the governor ask you to step down? I guess, it could be something they're probably going to put in there. But it will be interesting to see how Democrats react to Jones. I think that the House of Delegates candidates in those competitive races are probably going to distance themselves from Reed, and I would guess
Sure.
the statewide candidates, Mieres and Sears also distance themselves from Reed um, once more. So.
All right. Well, appreciate all the analysis. Appreciate all the work you do at State Navigate. And thank you again so much for coming on today. I'm sure my viewers are very happy to hear from you. And it'll be an exciting final 33 days between now and November 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, for the audience, it's statenavigate.org. Come check out our election night operation. We're going to have a live model that shows the projected winner of every seat in the House of Delegates and statewide. And then we're just going to be doing like race calls for New Jersey. But I am very excited for election night here in Virginia. And eventually we're going to do a full launch in New Jersey with everything that I've shown for Virginia at the top of this video. Thanks so much.